Good Monday morning, and thanks for being with us on Kare 11 News. Now, I'm Alicia Lewis. We've been following breaking news from overnight out of Minnetonka. Take a look at this video. Flames shooting out of a home after a lightning strike. This happened just before midnight off of Highway 101 and Ridgewood Road. Fire crews tell us the people inside heard a loud boom before the fire started in the attic. Thankfully, no one was injured. Now, unfortunately, though, the storms are not hitting the areas that need it most, where crews are currently battling large wildfires in northern Minnesota. Audrey Russo's at the live desk with updates on conditions.
Take a look at this map from the DNR showing the risk of wildfire across the state. Red means most at risk for widespread damage. Orange, the second most severe. Now, cross-reference that with where the two biggest fires in the state currently are right now in Minnesota, the Flanders Fire and the Stewart Trail Fire. Now, you can see why Governor Walz has declared a state of emergency. In fact, we're expecting him to speak in two harbors at some point today. Right now, the Flanders Fire is about 20% contained near the Brainerd Crosby area. And this area is not densely populated, so officials say the evacuation area hasn't grown in the last 24 hours. Now, what's not great is that the northern part of our state isn't expected to get a good soaking rain that it desperately needs. The Flanders Fire has already burned more than 1,600 acres, and the Crow Wing County Sheriff says 100 firefighters are working to extinguish it, including a crew from Canada.
This is a hot spot, and this is exactly what we're worried about, and this is what all the teams are treating today, is spots like this that still have enough energy, that are still smoldering, and the embers are still there.
Now, the Stewart Trail Fire up closer to the Duluth area is about 62% contained as of last night, and it's a bit smaller, only burning about 355 acres. Back to you.
Audrey, thank you. At the state capitol this morning, the 2026 Minnesota legislative session is over. Lawmakers working until 11:59, sending several bills to the governor's desk. However, a major gun reform package didn't make the cut. Our Danny Spiewak has the latest from the Capitol.
State lawmakers have met their deadline to pass bills in the 2026 legislative session. They had to do it by 11:59 p.m. Sunday night, and a lot of the big items did get done, though it did take until the final hours. That includes stabilization funding for Hennepin County Medical Center. Of course, that had been a huge issue at the end of the session, with county officials warning that the hospital could close without state intervention by as early as this summer. Well, they're going to get more than $200 million in immediate assistance, and then we'll be able to tap into $500 million in reserve funding through 2031. The other big item that got done in the final hours was the bonding bill, $1.2 billion for infrastructure projects across the state. So that's a big win for the divided legislature, which again is the most narrowly divided legislature in the country, with a tied House and the Senate being controlled by Democrats by one vote. They also got some other stuff done in the final hours, such as the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit funding for the Attorney General's office. That was something that had been pushed for throughout the session. But there was a lot that didn't get done. The Democratic priorities around guns and immigrations and customs enforcement, for example, there were no bipartisan solutions found on that. The gun restrictions and assault weapons ban that the Senate passed with Democratic control did not come up for a floor vote in the House, controlled by Republicans. And at the very last minute, in the last night of session last night, the Democrats tried to push an urgency around the ICE bill, but that also failed.
But we are not deterred by those actions, by those failures to get things across the finish line. House DFLers will take that message on the campaign trail this summer and fall. We will win a majority, and we will pass those bills into law in 2027.
There's so much more that we can be doing. Minnesota Senate Republicans used what little leverage that we had in the minority to achieve big things for this state. We're very proud of that, and we're going to be moving forward into this November in demonstrating to Minnesotans that we put them first every single day.
Danny will be back at the Capitol today to follow up on what these changes mean for you. Some other things that pass: rental assistance, school safety initiatives, and HOA reforms. This morning, a Minneapolis family is searching for answers in Aniya Allen's murder. It's been 5 years since the 6-year-old was shot and killed while enjoying a Happy Meal in the backseat of her family's car. So far, no one's been charged with her murder, but a man from Blaine was charged last year for illegally buying the gun used to kill Aniya. The girl's family is planning to hold a celebration in her honor tonight at 4:30 at Lakewood Cemetery. President Trump is back from his trip to China, is stepping up against threats against Iran once again, with negotiations to end the war going nowhere right now. A key Republican ally is urging him to renew attacks against Iran, as a continued closure of the Strait of Hormuz keeps pushing the price of gas and many other daily necessities higher here at home. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest.
Hi there. The ceasefire with Iran that President Trump recently said was on life support is showing new signs of strain, with fresh attacks on Gulf neighbors and negotiations stuck in a stalemate. President Trump this morning is refocused on Iran and renewing his threats, posting that the clock is ticking and the regime better get moving fast or there won't be anything left of them. That amid Israeli media reports the president spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu. On Friday, President Trump saying this about Iran.
We left their bridges. We left their electricity capacity. We can knock that all out in 2 days.
The ramped-up rhetoric comes as U.S. ally the United Arab Emirates said a drone strike sparked a fire at a nuclear power plant, calling it a dangerous terrorist attack, while Saudi Arabia said it intercepted multiple drones. Both have been frequent targets of Iran in a standoff over the Strait of Hormuz, with negotiations to end the war appearing stalled.
They don't know how to make a deal.
President Trump rejected Iran's last offer, saying it didn't deal with the nuclear threat. Senator Lindsey Graham, a close Trump ally, urging him to renew attacks on Iran.
I think the status quo is hurting us all. The longer the strait is closed, the more we try to pursue a deal that never happens, the stronger Iran gets. So what do you do next? You weaken them further.
As the unrest keeps forcing gas prices higher, the impact is trickling through the U.S. economy.
Price of gas goes up, everything goes up.
This family-owned grocery and deli in Wisconsin is fighting to avoid raising prices for customers.
Watching tomatoes triple in price from over the course of 1 month, that's pretty crazy. I mean, I have not seen that before.
While rising tensions raise the risk for more fallout. President Trump and his Republican allies keep making the case that prices will drop once the war is over. But as we edge closer to the November midterm elections, Democrats are promising to hammer the issue of affordability more and more. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
New this morning, the CDC says at least 6 Americans were exposed to Ebola virus in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The World Health Organization is now calling the outbreak a global health emergency. The agency is working to withdraw the group and bring them to a quarantine location. At least 88 people have died, with more than 300 suspected cases. Officials say this rare strain of the virus does not have any approved vaccines or treatments, raising some concerns about transmission.
We are in a difficult situation, absolutely, but so care for the patients is really absolutely the priority now. Isolation, and also making sure that those who care for people are protected and don't get contaminated.
The U.S. is also sending resources to help with contact tracing, surveillance, and lab testing. In today's Communities That Care, as wildfires rage up north, a cafe is stepping in to lend a helping hand. Sophia Lauber reports.
General Manager Callie Hoff says 2 Rustic Inn employees, Luann Johnson and her son Gavin, lost their home to the flames on Friday.
Sick to my stomach, really kind of gut-wrenched for them. Too awesome, their whole family's awesome people, hardworking, they're great for us, and so really, just really sad. You know, it's a scary situation right now.
Johnson's sister, Tammy Dahlbeck, also works at Rustic Inn.
It's devastating, absolutely devastating to know that they have lost everything.
Dahlbeck says the tragedy feels especially painful following the loss of their parents.
We lost our mother within the last few years. Our father, we lost, quite a few years ago, but any memories of them, it's all gone with her stuff.
Hoff has started a GoFundMe for the family. Rustic Inn is also collecting donations and offering free meals to emergency response crews and all families displaced.
It's community helping community, and so if someone comes in and tells us that they've been affected by whatever means that is, we're here to support them.
Both neighbors and visitors to the community stepping up to lend a hand.
A random woman who happened to be vacationing here came in this morning before we even opened and gave me a hug and said, I heard about the situation, and she handed me a handful of cash, which was just amazing. There are such good-hearted people out there.
Love to see people getting the help they need. Stick around with us. More news, weather coming up after the break.